Y'all ignore how I look because I just climbed out of the shower, but I was thinking, we're always sharing like spooky follower stories on the page, but something that we have not done in, I don't know, probably like a year is one of my personal scary stories. And I thought tonight would be the perfect night for that. So while I detangle the knots in my hair, let's share one of my personal scary stories. Okay, so years ago, a family friend and her new husband got in a car wreck, and as a result, he suffered a traumatic brain injury. And she, after he was out of the hospital and stuff, really wanted somebody that she knew and could trust to come in the home to be like a caretaker for him when she went back to work. And so I took the job, and I worked there for about a year within the home. And, this man and I, let's just call him Frank, okay? This man and I, we became pals. We became friends, right? There was something about this home that was off, and nothing will ever convince me otherwise. There was something about this home that was off. One of the first things that the wife, let's just call her Stacy, one of the first things that Stacy shared with me is that years ago when Frank first moved into that home, he had like found some like Ouija boards and shit like that in the back bedroom. I didn't think much of it though, One thing you need to understand about the setup of this house. So when you first walk in the front door, there's a living room. That is where Frank's hospital bed is set up. To get to the kitchen, you have to walk past this hallway. Down this hallway, the hallway lights are always off. It's like a very dark hallway. You have like the bathroom, all the bedrooms and stuff, and like the back bedroom where they found that Ouija board and shit. It's at the end of the hallway. And I got like spooky dooky vibes, from this hallway, but I repeatedly, when I'd be there alone with Frank during the day, would walk from the living room past this hallway to get into the kitchen, and out of my peripheral vision, I would see this like humanoid silhouette, this like dark shadow at the very back of the hallway. And like I said, it's very dark, but this silhouette was like darker than the darkness, and how it had no features, but you could still tell that it was like facing you. I will never understand, but you could tell that it was like facing you. And then when I would like do a double take to look directly at it, there would never be anything there. It was just like out of my peripheral. It got uncomfortable enough after this happened a few times that I like flicked the lights on in the hallway the second I got there, and I'd get there before sunup in the morning. I'd arrive at like 6 a.m. and stay until I don't remember what time, till it was like dark, and I kept them lights on. I already have goosebumps before even talking about this next part. So one day, I am in the hallway with Frank, and he's in his wheelchair. I'm like wiping some baseboards down, and he asked to help me. So I hand him a Lysol wipe, and he's like wiping just the wall, And I am just doing what I'm doing, and I hear him stop wiping the wall, and I turn to look, and he looks up in the air at nothing, and he is like having a conversation with something. He's like responding to something and saying like, why can't you get her? And I'm like, who are you talking to? And he said, they want to hurt you because they don't like the light that's around you, but they can't get you. Bro, damn right they can't get me. I'm about to be 10 blocks down the road in 5 seconds flat. But no joke, like when he said that, my stomach dropped because, and I know people could say like, oh, this could be a side effect of his like traumatic brain injury or medication, but when you work with somebody 5 days a week for a year, you're patient. And then like there were certain things that were just out of the norm for him that would like happen, and this was one of those things. He did not talk like that, right? And so I'm like, who is they? Like I didn't even want to ask that question if I'm being so real, but like how do you not? I'm like, who is they? He never even explained to me who they was. He just said that they were crawling across the ceiling. Crawling across the ceiling. I'm about to crawl across. My head's about to hit the ceiling. It scared me. I started praying. I was like, I rebuke you. It really freaked me out though, and so yeah, in the hallway. Frank always took a nap during the day, and sometimes when he'd be sleeping in the hospital bed in the living room, I'd be on the couch right next to him, and I would like sometimes doze off, right? Without fail, any time that I dozed off in that house, I had sleep paralysis. And the thing is, with me personally, the only time, and I've rarely had sleep paralysis, the only times I've had it, it has been in places that there is just something that is off. Okay? So what I'd do is I'd be laying there, and with this sleep paralysis, it was different than any other type I've had. It was like I'm fully awake, but my eyes are literally like glued shut. They are paralyzed too. I can't even look around the room like I normally have been able to. And I would hear the very distinct squeak that the screen door and the front door would make when they would open. And they'd open, and then I would hear these heavy footsteps, boom, 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 and they are walking up to me on the couch. And I knew, like, I'm immediately filled with this horrible dread that this person is there to unsubscribe me from life, and they have like a sharp object. And when they would get right over my body on the couch, it like so close, the presence was so strong, it was like I could almost feel their breath on my face without actually feeling their breath on my face. And I am literally bracing myself because I'm laying on my back. I'm vulnerable, and I'm bracing myself for impact. It is like the most horrifying thing, trying so hard to scream, just to open my eyes, anything, and I can't. And like right before they make contact with me, I like gasp, and I am able to sit up, and like nobody's there. This happened every single time I dozed off in that house. Got to the point where I refused. I stopped. So eventually, around 6 months of me working there, shit's happening. I'm freaked out. I even tell his wife about it. She's like, I'm gonna have my pastor come and like pray over the house, and like they actually have come out before and like prayed over the house. And I'm like, you need to do something. Well, she ends up like hiring another caretaker to kind of like help me so I can take a few days off work, right? And so this other caretaker, super sweet, I loved her. Her name was Norma. And I decided not to say a word to her about any of this activity. I just wanted to see if she was going to experience something and if she would like say something to me first. Norma, if you ever see this, I'm sorry you were a science experiment. Not a week goes by and she calls me and she's like, hey, like, I don't want to sound crazy. I'm like, yeah, nothing sounds crazy, promise. Like, does anything weird ever like happen in the house? And I'm like, actually, now that you mention it. And so she had been experiencing essentially the same things. And then she asked me, when Frank wakes up from his naps, sometimes does he ever wake up like hysterically terrified? And he did. Sometimes when he would wake up from naps, he was like inconsolable. Like, thinking back on it, it's actually heartbreaking. Like, it would choke me up. He would be like crying and like trying to like thrash it around in the bed, and like he couldn't even stand up on his own, but he would be like trying to literally like roll over and like get out of bed and stuff, like screaming like, please don't let them get me, they're crawling across the ceiling, they're like trying to bite me, they're gonna like take me, please, like don't let them get me. And I would try my best to console him and comfort him. Sometimes we would get like so freaked out, I would just put him in his wheelchair and we would like go outside and take a walk around the neighborhood to just get out of the house for a little while. I noticed as well that mine and Frank's experiences were often synchronized. Like on the days where he woke up terrified or he said some like creepy shit or whatever, it was on those days that I also was experiencing things or just felt like the house felt particularly heavy that day or like off. I never told him when I was like experiencing something because I didn't want to scare him, but yeah, the last thing I'll share with you guys, I think might be one of the most compelling for me personally. And you need to understand something about his brain injury. So Frank, he had like short-term and long-term memory loss. So if I, for instance, was like, hey Frank, I'm going to say a color, and in 5 minutes, I want you to tell me what color I said, he wouldn't be able to do it. He wouldn't remember. So when he was talking about seeing this little boy in the house, it was compelling for me that every single time, without fail, he consistently described this little boy as looking the same exact way. One day, just randomly, he starts talking to something that's not there, or is it? And I, again, against my better judgment, I'm like, who are you talking to? And he said, it's a little boy. And I was like, is he nice or is he mean? And he's like, he's nice. He's got red hair and freckles. He wears khaki shorts. He has a backpack. He always had a backpack. Like, described him the same way consistently. And he would be having like a full conversation, like he's like coherently responding. He'd pause to like listen. He would like laugh at some points. His facial expressions changed, like it's like he's really talking to a person. And he was never scared of this little boy like he was scared of the things on the ceiling. And when the first day, he used to call this little boy Dino, which is kind of funny. But the first day that Frank saw Dino, I'm like, nobody's here, it's okay. And he's like, Dino, like, come over here, sit beside Autumn on the couch, like, show her you're real. And I'm like, no, Dino, don't. And he thought that was funny. He got a kick out of it. He's like, Dino, like, touch your arm, like, show her that you're really here. And I'm like, please, God, like, don't do that. Like, it really scared the shiznit out of me. So he would like sometimes bring this up on Norma's shifts, and eventually I bring it up to Stacy, the wife, and I'm like, Frank is like talking about seeing this little boy in the house. And so Stacy looks at me and she explains that years before Frank had this injury, that the neighbors that live next door, they had a little boy with red hair, and that one day he's playing outside in the rain, I assume, and he got struck by lightning and very sadly passed away. It's heartbreaking, but when she said that, my butterflies had butterflies, because he had literally been talking about seeing this little boy for like months. And he just like randomly did it one day. It wasn't like from the time I started working there till the time I quit, like it just randomly happened one day. And yeah, you sometimes with Frank, like, had to remind him who you were, who his wife was. Like, I don't think he was just like remembering this little boy, and like talking about him, and also just the way he like had the conversation, it was so compelling. And could this have been just like part of his injury? I mean, it was very similar to like a dementia or something. It's possible. I don't discount that, but I know what I think, what I experienced, what Norma experienced, and I believe that there could have been a child ghost in the house, and it could have been the neighbor's little boy. And not just a child ghost, but something else that was much more dark, ominous, and had ill intent. Like I mentioned, I worked there for a year. Eventually I quit, and I never went back to that house, and will never go back to that house. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like me to share more of my personal scary stories along with our regular content, your all's scary stories, I can. I don't have that many up my sleeve, left of like my own stories or my family's, but there are a few. So yeah, y'all have a good night. Stay tuned for more.